over 60? What if the breakfast you eat every morning is quietly making it harder to hold on to your muscle? Are you starting to notice that everyday things don't feel quite as easy as they used to? Getting out of a low chair, carrying groceries, climbing a flight of stairs, getting up from the couch without using your hands. Maybe you're not weak. Maybe you're just noticing something that many people don't talk about enough after 60. Muscle can quietly disappear. And here's the part that may catch you off guard. You can lose muscle without realizing it's happening. You may still weigh about the same. Your clothes may still fit. You may even look perfectly fine in the mirror, but underneath, your body can gradually lose some of the muscle that helps you walk, balance, lift, and stay independent. And once you notice it, you may wish you had paid attention sooner. That's why breakfast matters more than you might think. Because what happens if your first meal of the day gives you plenty of calories, but hardly any protein? You may be filling your stomach without giving your muscles much of what they need. And after 60, that can become a problem worth paying attention to. So today, we're going straight to the breakfast table. I'm going to show you 6 familiar foods that can help you build a more protein-focused breakfast. Nothing fancy, no expensive powders, no weird ingredients you have to hunt down at some specialty store. Just foods you can find at ordinary grocery stores across the United States. Some of these foods may already be sitting in your kitchen, but you may be eating them the wrong way or simply overlooking them. So before you pour that coffee and grab whatever is easiest, ask yourself one question. Is your breakfast actually doing anything for your muscles? Because after 60, that question may matter more than you think. Let's start with the breakfast food that has been on American tables for generations. It's cheap, it's versatile, and when it comes to protein quality, it's tough to ignore. 1. Eggs have been a breakfast staple for a long time. Scrambled, boiled, poached, over easy, sunny side up. You've probably eaten them hundreds of times. But here's what many people don't realize. That simple egg can provide high-quality protein containing all 9 essential amino acids your body needs from food. And one amino acid deserves special attention when we're talking about muscle. It's called leucine. Leucine plays an important role in stimulating muscle protein synthesis. In plain English, your muscles don't just need protein sitting somewhere in your diet. They need the right amino acids to help trigger the process of building and maintaining muscle tissue. That's one reason eggs make so much sense for a breakfast after 60, but here's where people sometimes get tripped up. They'll have one egg, then a piece of toast, maybe some jelly, and call it a high-protein breakfast. But is it? Maybe not. The overall meal matters. If you're trying to support your muscles, think about making protein a real part of breakfast, not just a tiny side note. 2 eggs can be a starting point. You could pair them with a slice of whole grain toast and some vegetables, or make a simple veggie omelet, or prepare scrambled eggs with peppers and onions for a filling morning meal. Nothing complicated, just a better balanced plate. And here's the question I want you to think about. If you're already eating eggs, are you using breakfast as an opportunity to get enough protein? Or are you treating eggs like a tiny garnish? That difference matters, because your muscles don't care whether your breakfast looks fancy. They care about getting the nutrients your body needs. And this brings us to a breakfast many people already love. It's warm, it's comforting, and some people have been eating it since they were kids. But we're going to look at it from a completely different angle, because what if your ordinary bowl of breakfast could be doing more for your muscles? Let's talk about oatmeal. 2. High protein oatmeal. If your usual breakfast is a warm bowl of oatmeal, don't ditch it. Instead, take a closer look at what's actually in that bowl. Oatmeal can be a nutritious breakfast. It provides carbohydrates for energy. It contains fiber. And oats provide a type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. A plain bowl of oatmeal isn't particularly high in protein, and that's important when your goal is to protect the muscle you've worked decades to build. Think about it. You wake up, you eat a bowl of oatmeal. Maybe you add some brown sugar, then you go about your morning. An hour or two later, you're hungry again. Sound familiar? The problem may not be that oatmeal is bad. The bigger issue may be that your breakfast is missing enough protein to make the meal more balanced and satisfying. That's why a higher protein oatmeal breakfast can make more sense. Instead of treating oatmeal as the entire meal, build a breakfast around it. For example, prepare your oats with milk instead of water. Add a serving of cottage cheese on the side, or pair your oatmeal with eggs for a more protein-rich breakfast. You can also add nuts or seeds in a sensible portion for extra protein and healthy fats. Now, here's something important. Don't turn your oatmeal into a dessert. A mountain of brown sugar, sweetened syrups, flavored creamers, and oversized portions can turn a simple breakfast into a very different meal. Keep the oats as the base. Keep added sugar modest, and make sure there's a meaningful protein source alongside it. That's the real upgrade. And it challenges an old belief. Healthy breakfast doesn't have to mean tiny breakfast. You don't need to eat like a bird just because you're over 60. You need a breakfast that actually supports your body's needs. And if you're trying to hold on to muscle, protein deserves a front row seat. But there's another food that may be even more interesting. It's creamy, it's filling, it's loaded with protein, and many people only think about it as a snack. But it can be a surprisingly powerful breakfast companion. And there's one particular reason I want you to know about it. 3. Cottage cheese. Cottage cheese doesn't always get much love. Some people see it and think, that's old school. But maybe that's exactly why you shouldn't overlook it. Cottage cheese is naturally rich in protein, and many varieties provide a substantial amount of protein in a relatively modest serving. That makes it a useful option when you're trying to make breakfast more muscle-friendly. There's another reason it deserves attention. Cottage cheese contains casein, a slower digesting milk protein. Your body digests casein more gradually than some other proteins. That doesn't make it a magic muscle food. But it does make cottage cheese an interesting way to add quality protein to your diet. And let's be real, breakfast doesn't have to look like a restaurant menu. You can keep it simple. A bowl of cottage cheese with fresh berries can make a quick breakfast. You could also serve it alongside eggs and whole grain toast, or make a savory breakfast bowl with cottage cheese, tomatoes, cucumbers, and herbs. That's a lot more interesting than grabbing a sugary pastry on the way out the door. And there's something else worth considering. As we get older, appetite can sometimes become less predictable. You might not feel like eating a huge breakfast, so instead of forcing down a giant plate, a compact food that gives you meaningful protein can be useful. That's where cottage cheese earns its spot. But now, Let me ask you something. What if the problem isn't that you're eating too little breakfast, but that you're spending your breakfast calories on foods that don't give your muscles enough protein? That's a question worth thinking about, because the goal isn't simply to eat more. It's to make the food you already eat work harder. And our next food is one of the most familiar breakfast foods in America. You've probably had it with cereal. You've probably poured it into your coffee. And chances are, there's already some in your refrigerator. But most people don't think of it as a muscle food. Maybe they should. 4. Milk. When was the last time you looked at a glass of milk and thought, that's part of my muscle-supporting breakfast? Probably not recently. Most people think of milk as something you pour over cereal or splash into coffee. But milk also gives you something your muscles need: protein. A typical serving of milk provides both whey and casein proteins. Those are high-quality dairy proteins that supply essential amino acids. And that makes milk an easy way to add protein without turning breakfast into a complicated project. Think about your normal morning. Maybe you're having eggs and toast, or oatmeal, or a piece of whole grain cereal. Adding a glass of milk can make that meal more protein-rich. Simple. No special recipe. No fancy supplement. Just a familiar grocery store food. But there's another reason milk is interesting after 60. It also provides calcium, and calcium is important for maintaining normal bone health. Why does that matter in a muscle-focused video? Because staying strong isn't just about muscle. Your body works as a system. Muscles help you move. Bones provide structure, and both matter when your goal is staying active and independent. Think about something as ordinary as getting out of your car, walking through the grocery store, carrying a bag of groceries into the house, or playing with your grandkids. You want your body working together. That's why a nutritious breakfast shouldn't focus on only one nutrient. And here's a little shopping tip. If you buy milk, check the label and choose the variety that fits your personal nutrition needs. For people who tolerate dairy, regular milk can be a convenient source of protein and calcium. If dairy doesn't agree with you, there are other options. The point is to find a protein-rich choice that works for your body and your overall eating pattern. Now, here's where things get interesting. You might be thinking, okay, eggs, oatmeal, cottage cheese, milk, but what if I want something savory? Good question, because not everyone wants a sweet breakfast. And our next food is perfect for the person who wakes up thinking, give me something hearty. 5. Turkey sausage. If you love a savory breakfast, turkey sausage can be a convenient way to add protein to your plate. But there's a catch. Not all turkey sausage is created equal. Some varieties can be high in sodium and saturated fat. So don't just grab the first package you see. Turn it around. Read the nutrition label. Look at the protein. Check the sodium. And compare brands. When you find a variety that fits your needs, you can build a simple breakfast around it. Turkey sausage, eggs, some vegetables, and a slice of whole grain toast. Now you've got a breakfast that brings together protein, fiber, and other nutrients. And here's the part I really want you to remember. You don't have to give up the breakfast you love just because you're over 60. You may simply need to upgrade them. Instead of a huge plate of sausage and refined carbs, build a more balanced plate. Instead of sugary breakfast pastries, choose protein and whole foods more often. Instead of skipping breakfast, Give your body something worthwhile. That's not dieting. That's being strategic. And here's another question. What would happen if you stopped thinking about breakfast as simply the meal that gets you through the morning and started thinking of it as your first opportunity to support your muscles that day? That mindset shift can change the way you shop. It can change the way you build your plate. But we're not finished yet, because the final food is something you may already have in your refrigerator, and it can turn an ordinary savory breakfast into something much more satisfying. Let's talk about it. 6. Part-Skim Mozzarella. Part-Skim Mozzarella provides high-quality dairy protein along with calcium. And unlike some heavier cheeses, Part-Skim Mozzarella can fit nicely into a balanced breakfast when you keep portions reasonable. Here's where it gets practical. Take a couple of eggs. Add some sautéed peppers and onions. Melt a modest amount of Part-Skim Mozzarella over the top. Now you've got a savory breakfast that's filling, flavorful, and gives you a meaningful combination of protein and other nutrients. You could also pair mozzarella with tomatoes and whole grain toast, or make a simple breakfast sandwich with eggs, vegetables, and part-skim mozzarella. And that's really the point of today's video. You don't need some exotic muscle-building food that costs a fortune. Sometimes, the better strategy is looking at the foods already sitting in the dairy aisle. Your total protein intake across the day matters. You can't expect one breakfast to do all the heavy lifting. Your muscles need support throughout the day. So breakfast is simply your first opportunity to get meaningful protein into your meals. And there's another piece of the puzzle that we can't ignore. Exercise, especially resistance exercise. Walking is fantastic for your overall health. But if your goal is maintaining muscle and strength, your muscles also need a reason to stay strong. That can mean resistance bands, light weights, body weight exercises. If you're new to resistance exercise, start appropriately for your fitness level and talk with your healthcare professional if you have medical concerns. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You can eat a protein-rich breakfast every morning, but if you're barely challenging your muscles, you're missing another important part of the equation. Food provides the building materials. Exercise gives your muscles a reason to adapt, and consistency brings those habits together. The breakfast mistake to stop making. Here's something I want you to think about tomorrow morning. Look at your breakfast before you eat it. Then ask yourself, where's the protein? Maybe your breakfast is mostly toast. Maybe it's a bowl of cereal. Maybe it's a muffin and coffee. Maybe it's a banana with juice. None of those foods are automatically forbidden. But if your breakfast contains very little protein, you may be missing a valuable opportunity to support your muscles. And that's the whole reason behind today's title. Over 60? Don't lose more muscle. Don't wait until climbing stairs becomes noticeably harder. Pay attention now, because your future self may thank you. The 6 breakfast foods. So let's put everything together. Today we looked at eggs, a complete, high-quality protein for a classic breakfast. High-protein oatmeal, a familiar breakfast that becomes more muscle-friendly when paired with meaningful protein. Cottage cheese, a convenient source of protein, including slower digesting casein. Milk, an easy source of high-quality protein and calcium. Turkey sausage, a convenient savory protein option when you choose and portion it wisely. Part-Skim Mozzarella, another protein-rich dairy option for a satisfying savory breakfast. Each one contributes protein or other nutrients that can help support your muscles as part of a balanced diet. But remember, the goal isn't to eat all 6 foods every morning. That's not necessary. Pick the options you enjoy. Build a balanced breakfast around protein, then keep that habit going. Because when you're over 60, protecting your muscle can help you stay strong, independent, and active in everyday life. One more important point: no breakfast food can guarantee that you'll prevent or reverse muscle loss. Muscle health depends on much more than one meal. Adequate protein throughout the day, regular resistance exercise, enough overall nutrition, sleep, and your individual health conditions all matter. If you have kidney disease or another medical condition that affects how much protein you should eat, talk with your healthcare professional before making major dietary changes. Now, I want you to answer one question in the comments. What's your usual breakfast after 60? Eggs? Oatmeal? Something completely different? Tell me below. And if today's video made you look at breakfast a little differently, hit that like button. Subscribe to 60 Plus Food Guide for more practical food tips designed for adults over 60. Because getting older doesn't mean you have to stop caring about strength. It means you have even more reason to protect it. Take care of yourself, stay active, build better meals, and I'll see you in the next video.